What's up guys, this is Balázs from Racing Brick. This package was just delivered to me. Guess what's inside? Well, since you saw the title of the video, it's not a big surprise anymore, so let's get inside and open the box. Oh, by the way, I published less content in the past few weeks than usual, and there was a reason for that. You might remember that we moved to a rent last year and I had, quite limited space for all my LEGO related activities. Luckily, things changed this week and I could move my stuff to a much bigger room. Although this means a lot of packing and unpacking and arranging stuff and a lot of boring, non-productive things, I hope in a week or two I can get back on track and start producing again my videos. Including, of course, these guys here waiting to be presented and much more. So let's get back to our package. This one arrived straight from the BuWizz headquarters, had to stay in the DHA warehouse for the holidays unfortunately, but finally it's here. So here is the new packaging. Apparently the third iteration of the BuWizz brick got a new fancy longer name, so it is called BuWizz 3.0 Pro now. I really like the design, the box looks great and has some useful information already about the product. The inner cardboard box looks more like the previous design, but now let's see the BuWizz unit itself. So, the obvious first major upgrade, it has 4 powered up ports and 2 power functions ports. The dimensions look similar for the first sight, but let's grab the previous generations for a quick comparison. So, here are my 4 different BuWizz units. Wait, the newest one is 3.0, so how do I have 4 different generations? Well, my first one is a prototype unit. I was among the first backers and I was very impatient, so I paid extra to get my hands on this one. It has a 3D printed shell and was running a custom beta app that was actually pretty cool. So, here is the first official generation with 4 power functions ports. It had 3 different speed modes with different voltage levels and made a lot of things possible that was previously unachievable with stock LEGO power functions. This is BuWizz 2.0. This might be the one that most of you have. Added ludicrous mode with 11.2 volts, more power, improved range. As you see, all of these units so far had a micro USB port for charging. And now we arrive to the 3.0 Pro version. 4 powered up ports, 2 power functions ports, all of them nicely labeled with numbers and letters on the unit itself. Another visible change is the USB-C port, which makes the unit compatible with most recent cables and chargers. The bottom changed as well. Previously there was only a BuWizz label on the center, but now there's a half-hidden Made in Slovenia text as well. On the side you might notice that the position of the pinhole has changed. It was moved to the middle of the unit. But if we put it side by side with the previous generation, there's another big difference. The 3.0 Pro version became 1 module longer, so it is a pretty big change for the first sight, as it means you cannot really replace simply the previous generations with the new one in your builds. But if you think about it, since most of the connectors changed, you will probably rarely use the new one in the old power functions builds anyway. I assume the increased length was necessary to be able to add 6 connectors instead of 4. The other dimensions are still the same, so it is 4 modules wide and 3 modules high. Now let's see the ports. The power functions connection still works the same way, but you need to attach the connector to one of the central ports on top of the unit. As you see, plugging in a powered up cable has no issues besides the power functions one. The placement is quite logical. The port works well with the cable, no issues here. I try to compare here the experience with the LEGO powered up hub. The port on the BuWizz unit seems to be a tiny little bit tighter, so it requires slightly more force to pull it out, but the difference is hardly noticeable. If we take a look at the unit from the side, the powered up cable actually won't require more free space above the unit than the power functions one if the cable is arranged sideways, which is great news for smaller builds. The placement of the power button on the new one is quite interesting. It is inside one of the central studs. I thought first that it will be difficult to operate, but actually it isn't, works smoothly. On the previous units I had some challenges with the button. After a while the response rate became worse and had to press it multiple times to make it work. So what about the numbers? If we take a look at the official spec sheet, there were quite a few changes apart from the obvious port changes. We have no real reference for the powered up outputs, but the 2 power functions ports seem to deliver almost the same or even better performance. The max instantaneous current per channel is a little bit lower, but the continuous power output increased to 48 watts and the maximum total power is now more than the double. The battery's capacity also increased. and with the USB-C charger, the charging time is significantly shorter. There are also other extra functions like the built-in acceleration sensor and the current sensors on all ports. Interestingly, there are no speed modes listed for the 3.0 version. I really wonder how things will work without them. I think it is about time to fire up the app and take a look. Actually, before that, we need to charge our unit. One extra cool function is instantly visible. The powered up ports light up in different colors. One thing to note here, the firmware will still receive updates and the app is also a beta version, so any behavior you see here might not be the final one. I only received brief instructions with the units, so the full manual is still not available. I'm trying to figure out things myself. First I thought that the red flashing means charging, but this is the bootloader mode and in general it is not a good sign. You will need to reboot the device from the app in this case. The charging indicator actually seems to be more clever. As I see, the 4 ports are indicating the percentages. Green means it is charged already at 25, 50 or 75%. Let's see now the app. I started the previous version on the other phone for reference. For the first site, they seem to be identical. Let's open one of these stock profiles. Now this screen is also similar because the logic and layout remain the same, but it was updated to 6 ports. For the first site, it is not obvious how the unit is oriented, but the button indicated with red helps. Let's connect 2 motors to see what happens. We will use ports 1 and 4, and they are already linked to the 2 sliders. Well, apparently only one of the motors work. The speed selector does not have an effect here, but the BuWizz team informed me that this is by design. I tested the other stock profiles and they had similar issues with only one motor working, but I'm sure this is linked to the beta status of the app. Let's try to create a profile from scratch. I add one vertical slider from here, then another horizontal slider, and then link the outputs to them. Now if I start the profile, both seem to work fine, so it's great. This is simple speed control. What if I want one of them to behave like a servo? This needs to be configured here on this tab by adding this center steer module. Then a few more taps and we are done. Let's test it. Apparently it runs a calibration at the beginning and afterwards works as a servo. Now let's try to mix the motors. What if I add the power functions light and the motor to the same setup? I add the button for the light and the motor will be linked to the vertical slider. Let's see what happens. Apparently the 2 power functions outputs are swapped. The light is controlled with the slider now and the motor is controlled with the button. Let's go back and check the layout. Well, I think I did it right, so it's another thing to correct in the final version of the app. Here's another cool feature. By tapping on this icon, you can configure the color of the light on the port, or you can also turn it off, which is a nice feature. I'm sure some of us don't want to use the BuWizz unit in Christmas tree mode all the time. It is also possible to add some very useful gauges to the profile. Let's see what we have. There's the accelerometer, then the battery voltage indicator, and another one that shows the current drawn for each output. We need to link them to this BuWizz unit on the other screen, and here we go. As you see, we have a live display of the battery voltage and also the accelerometer data from the BuWizz unit. If I test the motor outputs, then the actual and maximum current is also displayed. I think these all provide very cool and useful information. I will go into the details in a separate video. These are really just the first impressions with the beta app. One thing I want to show you though is a quick test with a Technic car that has stock powered up motors. Let's try this with the buggy. A simple profile created for the controls, and we can start. Servo calibration happens at the beginning, and then off we go. Wow, I think the speed difference is pretty obvious. The controls could be a bit more responsive. I feel some delay, especially for the steering, but it's again something that can be improved with the app. I wanted to take it outside for some tests, but guess what's going on there? Yeah, it's April and it's snowing, so I have to stay indoors. Here's a quick speed comparison with fully charged AA batteries using the Technic Hub. You can see the difference. So let's sum up my first impressions. This device has tons of potential. With the mixed powered up and power function ports and the relatively small form factor, you have a really wide range of possibilities. If we add the extra voltage provided and the app that does not require coding, I think the benefits are clearly visible. There are of course still some limitations and issues, but most of them are related to the app, and that's still a beta version. The hardware seems to be solid and delivering what is expected from it so far. You can find the link below to the official site for more information and the purchase options. I also updated my BuWizz guide, which can be accessed by clicking on the link in the top right corner. I'm really looking forward to do more tests and share them with you. Let me know in the comments what you would like to see. I am planning to do a comparison with the previous BuWizz version, also with the different powered up hubs, and we will dig deeper in the app to explore the possibilities. I will also get back to the BuWizz team to ask them about some features and why the speed selector option was removed for the newest version. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe and tap the notification bell if you don't want to miss my Technic reviews and other LEGO RC videos. See you next time, bye bye.